See if that works. Good morning, good morning. Sorry, just adjusting camera. Welcome to Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities. Hope everyone is doing well on this beautiful Friday morning. If you're jumping in on live or if you're watching the replay, please comment and chat below where you're watching from, where you're at, what the weather's like. It's beautiful, bright and sunny here. What are you up to today? And then also comment one thing you're doing today to make tomorrow better and to make next week better. So, again, today's episode is brought to you by Kenny Ingersoll TV. Please go check it out, kennyingersolltv.weebly.com. Thank you for their sponsorship. Again, that's kennyingersolltv.weebly.com. So, something I'm excited about before we jump into our special guest. I am doing a book giveaway, and more details will follow soon. So look for that. All the info will be found here at ingersollenterprises.weebly.com/events. So look for the details coming shortly, but I am giving a book called Happy and Strong by Jamie Villalobos. Let's see, can you see that very well? Maybe a little fuzzy. There we go. That looks a lot better. So Jamie Villalobos, great mentor, great friend, in business, in life, in family, faith, all the way around. A great book. So I'll be doing a couple giveaways of this book, so look for details to that. And if you're not following her on social media, it's a little bit different spelling. It's Jaime. Go follow her. Now, be aware, as like with many people on social media, there are some fake accounts, people pretending to be her. So I will link hers directly again on the website at jamie.villalobos is on Instagram. So I'll drop that in the link on the website again. All the information can be found there. So I'm excited for that. Look for details on that. So now I am excited for today to bring on my special guest, Taylor Proctor. She's a confidence and content marketing expert who uses her skills as a certified mentor, a social CMO, and a serial entrepreneur to help coaches confidently create the life and businesses they love. That is a lot right there, and we're going to talk about that. She's the host of Creating with Confidence, an international acclaimed podcast, has been featured as a guest on 50 plus podcasts, shows, and event stages. So she's got a few things under her belt that she can speak from experience from. So I'm happy to have her on. Let's bring her on right now. Taylor, how are you?
So good. How are you?
There you are. I am doing excellent. Thank you. So I appreciate you taking the time to be on here, to be live with me. Couple hiccups along the way, but we work through them, as you find in life and in business. And so thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be on today.
So let's start off with certified mentor, social CMO, and serial entrepreneur. What even got you started on those paths?
So it's kind of funny. I way back in the day, I started actually in radio, and I had a split shift for radio. And that meant I had 6 hours in the middle of the day where I was like, what am I doing with my life? And I decided I wanted to have a career shift and change. And so I became a wedding planner and started my own wedding planning business. And that led to getting really into, this was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, really getting into social, right? Promoting my business on social. So then I became kind of an expert in social stuff. And I moved from a smaller town in Utah called St. George to Salt Lake and decided, do I really want to continue with my wedding planning business, or like, what are my favorite parts of that? My favorite parts of that ended up becoming the social aspects. And so I got into copywriting. My corporate career has led to all the way up to being, I'm the CMO and acting president of a new social media company called Pivot, which is Pivott. And in the middle of all of that, I realized that I really loved helping and working with people. And so I became a certified mentor as well. And on top of being the CMO and president for Pivot, I also have my own business where I coach coaches and small business owners in finding their confidence in themselves, in their passions, in their ability to market themselves, and in their business. So it's been kind of a long journey. That's a very short version, but kind of a long journey in just kind of figuring out who I am and building my confidence and being able to help other people do the same, becoming certified to be able to do that, and blending my experience in the corporate world and as a serial entrepreneur of having consulting and doing social agency stuff also on my own on the side, my wedding planning business, my coaching business, right? I've had several businesses, seen them all to success, and want to help other people do the same.
That is awesome. And I can relate to quite a bit of that because especially the wedding planner, I was an event coordinator for a while myself.
Yeah.
And at first I never, while I was doing that, I never even thought of or had the glimpse or even dreamed I would end up being a coach and a podcaster and, a financial professional that I am now. So I think it's interesting how we don't see it at the time, but if you'll speak on for a minute, you know, what impact it had if you hadn't been the wedding planner or whatever, or if you hadn't moved to Salt Lake.
Absolutely. So it's actually really funny because I can pull out things that I learned from every business adventure, from every job. There's things that I have learned that have supported to where I'm at now and have really helped me be able to help other coaches and other business owners. So I told you I started out in radio. I was on air talent and producing. So producing was all about finding systems and disseminating information in quick and easy ways. Sounds like social media, right? Right, basics there, but also online. Like, I was online talent, and so I learned how to edit, I learned how to speak well, all of these pieces that now have converted over to my own podcast, which I have over 500 episodes, right? And so it's been this, like, those are some nice pullouts from the wedding planning piece. I've learned to work with multiple vendors. I've learned to be able to put on events. I put on events for my own business, build your brand workshops. I have a 3-day mastermind course called Empire One. I have all these pieces that I've been able to pull out. So managing vendors and vendor relationships, being able to put on events, managing budgets, managing expectations, setting timelines, meeting those timelines. All of that has really come from my wedding planning skills. And then taking my leadership skills, my social skills, my content creation skills for starting in like the corporate world of starting as a copywriter, then becoming a content manager, to then SEO and content manager and directors, to multi-channel campaigns, to full-on national brand coverage and support. I've done work with brands like Google, Stanford University, Waze, Nest, Stadia, like a whole gamut. And so it's just been so fascinating to see like the little things that you thought, oh, I'll never come back to this. Like, I learned this here. It was great. It was for this job. And you're like, oh, I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. And like, it all pulls together to help support you in your career or in your job and your role as an entrepreneur and business owner. So I personally have seen a lot of that, like everything builds, and no negative experience or no skill that you have learned goes unnoticed. And what I mean by that is you can always learn from it. And eventually it's that collection of learning, that collection of positive and negative experiences that then creates like this perfect atmosphere of you are perfectly prepared for what you're needing to do.
Absolutely. And I know for me, it took forever for me to realize it was an investment, a learning process experience, instead of a waste of time and money. Like one of the businesses I've opened and closed, whatever. It's like at first I was like, oh, that was a nightmare, a waste of time and money, for the last whatever time. But then once I made the flip of like, no, that was an investment. There's things I learned, there's skills I developed, there's people I met.
Yep.
It was when I looked at it that way and saw the value on that aspect, it was well worth any dollar amount I put into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I love how you pointed that out, because it really does. It's a puzzle of our life coming together. You need to go over here to get this piece, then you need to go over here to get this piece.
Well, and what's fascinating about that too is I love that you said the mindset shift of like it was an investment, it was a learning opportunity, because confidence here, right? When we look at confidence, that's what builds confidence, right? If you look at an experience and you go that, oh, I tried to start a business, or I started a business and it was successful for a minute, but then it wasn't a right fit anymore, I failed, or that was a waste of time, you adopt that, right? And so you start to look at like, I'm a failure, this was a waste of time, I don't make good decisions, and you start to like you back yourself into a corner where you don't feel like you have the skills, the talent, the ability, the energy, the money, whatever it is to go after your dreams. But really what it comes down to is you've told yourself that that was a negative experience and didn't provide any value, and that impacts your confidence. So when you can change that and say, I'm learning in every situation, I'm growing in every situation, everything happening in my life happens to me to help me, happens for me, that can boost your confidence, because you're like, cool, I learned from that, let's keep going, and you don't get slowed down. So I love that you said that, because I think that's a core component of confidence, is that mindset shift.
Yeah, and that leads right into another mindset shift that I've had. Just on this show. I do financial services, my primary, and I do a little bit of coaching on the side. And for the longest time, I've had a lot of imposter syndrome with guests on my show.
Oh,
Like I'm this coach that's just starting out doing this teeny bit of coaching over here, and now I've got this coach of coaches on my show. Oh crap, who am I to talk to that, or what if I mess up, or what if I whatever. And then once I started making the shift, I'm still nervous talking to you right now, honestly.
oh, please don't.
But I'm approaching it more now of, okay, I'm gonna learn something more than anyone else that ever watches this episode probably will. And I know this will be a learning experience in multiple ways. And so that, like you said, it helped flip the confidence. Instead of painting myself in the corner,
Yep.
I'm going to grow and learn from this, and use it to benefit me so that I can help benefit others. And part of the reason, and we'll discuss this more, why you mentioned you've done radio and you do the event planning, the wedding planning, and you do all this coaching of coaching, is to help others.
Yeah.
And if you back yourself into a corner, you can't help very many people.
Exactly. Well, and I can, if I can share really quickly. So with my podcast, I did like 150 episodes. Keep in mind, we're at 500 plus now, like 550 or something. But my first like 150 episodes, I didn't really promote it. And I had like an average of 30 unique listeners per episode, which is still a lot. Like that's pretty solid for no promotion, just starting out, all of that. But what I realized, and it's exactly what you just said, you realized, I started to come to this conclusion of like, my having a podcast is helping me, right? And this whole time I've been like, the goal is if I can help one person, it's worth it, right? And we always like to look outside, like if I can help one person, it's worth it. Well, what if that one person is you? right? Like you deserve to grow and to learn and to be assisted, and to have you be able to do that, like that's amazing. And to take that, like once you do that, I think that that's when things start to really shift and change, because you stop being in the imposter syndrome. You start being like, this, if this helped me, it can help other people. And then it's a ripple effect out. But also, I have to say, the marketer in me is like, the vulnerability of being like, hey, I'm nervous right now, and the mistakes that can come up, or I'm not going to say mistakes, but like the little tweaks and things that come up, those are real. And people like and love real, right? They want to get to know you. And so there's great power and confidence in being able to say, hey, I'm a little nervous right now. I'm learning for me. We're probably going to have some hiccups and it's going to be fine. We're going to work through it, because that's what business life is about, right? Exactly what you said at the start of this. And I think that's so powerful and so impactful, and such a good lesson for all of us to be able to take into account when we are moving forward in our businesses, especially.
Yeah, and and that's something else I've realized, because I'm me personally, I'm not as concerned of how many viewers I have while it's live and all that stuff, um, and whatever, because I know that it'll hit the right ears at the right time, even if those ears are my own.
I love that.
And it took, that was another confidence thing, just those small little tweaks that we didn't even realize we needed to make, or we were going to make, or come out of it.
Yeah.
Those, the growth that you experience, that you didn't even realize you were going to, or any of that, you know is just those little tweaks that you take and learn and grow and develop, to build, to grow. And half the time I don't even recognize it until a couple weeks later, years later, or whatever. Or I'll go rewatch an episode, I'm like, I didn't even catch that last time.
I love that. I have to say, one of my like confidence boosting things that I do is I actually go back and listen to my own episodes, and I'm like, wow, look how wise and smart that person was. Like, it actually like pumps me up, like, and builds my confidence. Like, I can listen to episodes from like in the 200s range where I still was like, it was still kind of a mess, like a little bit more messy. And I'm like, that's actually really solid advice. Like, I should take that advice. It's funny because it's exactly right. Like, the right ears, the right audience will hear it at the right time and be able to come back and hear a different message too.
Yeah, I used to hate watching the episodes and hearing my own voice, or if I was a guest on someone else, I used to hate hearing my own voice, because you're your own worst critic, if by habit, basically.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I sounded so stupid, or I coughed at the wrong time, or I fumbled my words, or whatever. But now, again, it's that shift that I'm taking. It's like, no, okay, I need to work on that, but I did really good there, and I think I'm doing pretty good.
I think so too. You're doing awesome.
So it's certainly not the ego trip or anything like that. It's like building that confidence, building um that growth inside you, and accepting it, acknowledging it. This is who I am. This is kind of more where I want to be. My show has kind of done this as I fine tuned it to where I want it to be.
Right.
And by listening to those, I'm like, okay, it's going over here. I want it a little back over here. So
I love that. And I would say too, like, the core component of that is action, right? You took action to be able to weave in and find your lane, if you will, right? And so we see that action, once you take action in something, it can help you begin to feel capable, right? Because like doing interviews or doing a podcast or anything like that, or even just starting a business, like, you have to take action and then you'll start to feel capable. Like, you won't feel capable first. And so it's action leads to feeling capable. Once you feel capable, you start to feel like you're qualified. And once you feel like you're qualified, you can then start to feel confidence in what you're doing. But it's a process. Now, it doesn't have to take a long time, but it really starts with taking action, realizing that you can do it, whether imperfect or perfect, right? It's you can do it. Then the more that you do it, the more qualified you become to you feel like you can do it. And the more qualified you become, the more confident you become. And so it's this cycle of just like anything new, not even a cycle, but like a runway of anything new. Take action, start to feel like you're capable, start to feel qualified, and you'll be confident.
Absolutely. And, just taking that first step is usually the hardest. But when I started this year and 3 months ago, whatever, February of last year, I had no idea how long it would run. I had no idea who I would have on the show or whatever and stuff. And now I'm connecting with your audience as well, you know, and it's by taking that action. If I painted myself in the corner, I'm like, what if she doesn't like me? What if she thinks what if she said no when I messaged Taylor and asked if she wanted to be on the show? What if she said no? And back a year ago, I was a lot more aware of that, as far as it holding me back. Now I'm like, I'll ask her. If she says no, she says no.
Yeah.
And something else that I've done recently is no means next opportunity.
Yes.
It may be a no today, but a yes next week or whatever. Or okay, I'll come back to that later and I'll move on to the next opportunity. Just keep moving forward. Just keep chugging. So I like how you talked about that. Excuse me. And let's talk about how it fulfills your purpose. When did you realize in all this radio, the wedding planning and everything, that this was really what you wanted to do? And how did you start to fine tune that as your purpose? I think you touched on that a little bit, but
Yeah. I realized it's really what I wanted to do in like the weirdest way. I was actually listening to a Tony Robbins like CD, dating
love
myself.
Tony.
I had the Discman, but I was listening to a Tony Robbins CD, and I don't even remember like any of what the CD actually said, except for it was along the lines of like, what would you really want to do? And I was like, I really like what he's doing. Like he's helping me. My mindset is changing. Like all these things are shifting and adjusting. And I was like, I think I want to be a coach. And I started crying because it just felt so right and so in alignment. Now, I think that it's important to note there's so many different ways you can become a coach, right? And so at the time, I started my business, and I started my business actually as a happiness mentor, because I had a lot of anger issues and things that I had worked through, and I couldn't be the only one. And so I've helped several clients in their like happiness habits and building that for themselves. And what I ended up finding was that in combination with my corporate career, where I led international teams, I loved coaching my team members the very best. And in my coaching practice, all of my clients ended up being like business owners. And they would say, I feel so much better in my life and my relationships and all these things. Now I just wish I could get like my marketing up for my business. And I'd be like, so I have a whole different life where I'm like marketing, like I can help you with that. And it was beautiful to be able to blend and see the purpose of I'm here to help people help themselves, right? I think that's the important thing of coaching and mentoring is it's not just saying, do this, you'll be happy, do this, you'll be successful. It's much more about finding that alignment of what works for you and having someone there to help guide you with it. And I have just found that my purpose and the thing that I'm so honored to do and to have as part of my life is to help people find their purpose. And many times it's working with business owners and coaches who have that purpose that's at higher level and helping them be able to move into it with confidence and not be held back anymore. And additionally, within that, like I work with coaches and business owners specifically because it's a ripple effect, right? And I saw this with transformational happiness mentoring. Like you help one person and it helps their family, it helps their coworkers, it helps their community, it just ripples effects out. And so take that with a person who maybe isn't a business owner, it still has a ripple effect. But when you're helping coaches and business owners, they are there. Their purpose is to help bring the world to a higher level. And so if you can help them feel confident in sharing their message, and that helps other people and that helps other people. And I mean, it's just a huge ripple impact. And so, yeah, my purpose and the reason I'm so excited about this is that throughout my life, I've always loved coaching and helping people, and I'm really big on impact. And so to be able to help one coach, one business owner be able to impact the lives of their customers, their clients, those clients and those customers' lives are changed, and it just keeps going. Like that's such an incredible honor and an incredible gift. And I'm just so, again, honored and delighted to be able to have that as part of my reason to be here.
Absolutely. And from my personal experience, if you didn't have that passion behind it, you wouldn't do it as well as you could.
Right.
And you wouldn't do it for the same reasons. You know, you would do it. It'd be probably mostly for the money and stuff, and that's could be a good reason, but that's not always the best reason.
Right. Well, and money is a tool to help others, not the end goal, at least in
I
my.
I love that. That's a perfect statement because money is a tool. That's what it is. It's a tool no different than the screwdriver in my toolbox.
Yep.
You know, um, and that's something that I've learned along the way. As I've developed into financial coach and dream big coach that I do, and I'll jump back to that in a second. But realizing that we put the value on money that we do, and a lot of times we put the wrong value on money. We overvalue it sometimes.
Mm.
Versus what the money brings, or why else we're doing what we're doing. And I'll give you a basic example. If I'm spending an hour mowing my lawn, is that worth the time that I spent away from my family or away from what I do best, helping others? Or is it worth the $50 to pay someone else that's their passion? They
Right.
love the landscape aspect of it, and so if I pay them, you know, I'm valuing my what I do better, spending time with family or in my business, helping others, whatnot. And plus, it's also helping the landscape people
Yep.
grow their business and help their family as well. So, are we putting the right value on money, or are we overvaluing money? Are we seeing it as like the holy grail, or are we using it as a tool that it really is?
Yeah. I mean, I have a similar example. Uh, and this all comes back to confidence too. But I, for years, so a little side note about me, I don't cook, I don't clean. I am like not a good, I'm not a typical like domestic woman. Right. And that's fine. But for years, I just don't find enjoyment in those things. Some people do, that's great, but I don't. And so for years I would beat myself up about like, oh gosh, I hate cleaning, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to cook. Again, it's time. In my opinion, I'm like, I spend 2 hours, I eat in 20 minutes, and I gotta do dishes. Like this is a nightmare for me. But I know other people who absolutely love and adore that. All of that to say, as money being a tool, eventually it was like, can we just hire cleaners? So there's less pressure on me to have to clean. It's done well. We're in a beautiful, nice house that's clean. And is that worth our money? And I was like, absolutely, because the mental and the emotional and the even like the physical time and bandwidth that took from me in trying to be like, okay, I need to clean. I'm not very good at it. It takes me forever. I squirrel all over the place. Like I'm cleaning one thing and I see the baseboards need something. So then I do the baseboards and it's like, oh, well, the windows. And it just like went crazy. And it'd be like 8 hours on one day. It'd be such a waste for me. And I would be emotionally drained, feel like I didn't get anything accomplished. Like all of these pieces. Or I can spend a little bit of money and have a cleaner come and my house is still clean. It's a beautiful environment. I can focus on what I'm good at and what I love doing instead of trying to do those things that take away from my energy of being the best version of me. Right? There's nothing wrong with being good at cleaning, nothing wrong with being good at cooking. It's just not my wheelhouse. And when I could use money as a tool to support things that are outside of my wheelhouse, it allowed me to step more fully and confidently into the things that are my wheelhouse, which I think
Um,
is game changing.
Absolutely. And then, like I said earlier, it allows the cleaners or the cooks to be
Yep.
in their wheelhouse and support their business and their family. So like you mentioned before, thinking outside of ourselves, serving others. You're actually serving the the cleaning staff that you bring in, or the
Absolutely.
cooking staff, or whatever it is, and in your circumstance, whoever's watching, you're paying them, yes, but you're actually serving them too. You're serving them, and they're serving you by both allowing yourselves each other to focus on what you do best to help others, and like you said, that ripple effect. And I
Yep.
love that, and it grows the confidence and stuff, and seeing where the value is versus the cost. Is it a cost or an investment? And is it worth the value? Oftentimes we overthink the value. Like I talked about this book, and something I learned listening to Grant Cardone, as he says, people will see the book and they'll think, oh, it's cost $25, but they don't look at the value that's inside of it. Grant uses the experience or the example of, where's the paragraph that's going to help me make $1 million.
Yep.
So is it worth the $25 if it's going to make me $1 million or help me help others better? Heck yeah, it is.
Absolutely. And I love that you bring up the book, because I have a book club, and it's a paid book club, but we read personal development books. And I will have people be like, I'm so interested. I want to join your book club. I love the books that you're reading. It sounds awesome. And then I'm like, okay, well, it's a monthly subscription. It's monthly paid. And they're like, oh, I'm not going to pay for that. I'm like, okay, like, that's okay. But for me, I'm like, there's a value, right? When you pay for the book club, you have skin in the game. You're more invested in, like, okay, I want to get something out of this book, because the second piece of that is how many people read personal development books, and then it's kind of like, okay, cool, I read that, I got one sentence thing, but I didn't really apply it. I just moved on to the next personal development book. And so by being in a club and paying for that club, now it's a value and an investment of, we're talking about it, right? So I need to be paying a little bit more attention, and we're asking each other how we're applying what we're reading and what we're learning. And so it's like, well, I want to apply it. And that takes the opportunity of reading a book 10 levels higher, but it's the same thing where it's like, you don't have to pay, but you don't get as much out of it. And it's the same thing with the book. You can see it and go, that's not the thing. I don't want to pay that much for a book. Or you can look at it and go, I'm going to take something away from this and I'm going to apply it, and it's going to transform so many different areas of my life and ripple effect out there too, which is so amazing. But I totally agree with you on, like, value versus investment, like, but not even investment, value versus cost is big difference, and a big mindset shift too.
Absolutely. And it's a work in progress. you
Always.
know and something I was going to mention back before is I've found that things I've coached in and people I talk to, the things they coach in are what they've needed the most coaching with in their life. Like for me, I was a financial wreck years ago, and because I didn't know the thing, I thought, this and this were the only options, and blah 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 blah. So in a sense, I was a financial wreck, and as I started learning this, I'm like, I need to help others. I need to, and same with the dream big. I do a lot of dream big, pull those dreams back off the shelf and start chasing them, start living them. They can happen, they will happen. And, because I needed that myself.
Right.
So, what would your thoughts on that be?
I would say, and it's funny, I did a podcast yesterday and we were talking about what to look for when hiring a coach. And it was like, you want to hire a coach who's been through what you're going through and knows how to work through it, because they can actually help you work through it. Right. So it's this idea of, like, it's the difference between, like, I can say to my friend, oh yeah, I'm going through this, and they may be able to empathize, but they wouldn't be able to, like, coach me to get actually through it. It's like, oh, I'm really sorry you're going through that. They may commiserate with me, but they might be in the same position I am because we're friends, right? But if I hire a coach that has been through that already, is like 3-5 steps ahead of where I am, now I can ask questions. Now they can say, when I went through this, this is what I did here. Or when I had this experience, I realized this. And you can fast track, right? You're not alone. B, you can fast track and add a catalyst to working through those, because here's somebody who's being like, let me help you go, like, let me bring you up here. Like, let me help you with that, which is huge, because otherwise you're kind of just struggling on your own. So I love that. And I think for anyone looking to hire a coach, you want to look for somebody who's been where you are, and can help you work through that and provide the skills, the mindset, the insights, the even just holding a place of like energetic safety for you in that, because they have been there. And so I love that it's like, yeah, you've been there, right? And you can help people who have been there because you've gone through it, but also there's an empathy piece. You know what it's like. You don't want to hire somebody who doesn't know what it's actually like to be you. You just, that just doesn't resonate, right? You want somebody who can see you and know what it's like and feel what it's like and be like, we can get through this together. Let me help you. So I love that.
Yeah, I love it. And I just lost my train of thought, but
Great.
sometimes that happens in life.
Totally.
But it's awesome. Then you see, oh yeah, I remember what it was. One of my favorite things about what I do is seeing that light, like the weight lifted off their shoulders. You can see that sigh of relief in their eyes, or that look of relief in their eyes, and I love that. That's one of my favorite things of what I do, is seeing that look of relief. It's like, it is possible. We can do this and stuff. And again, one of those mindset shifts is I thought I had to know everything, but I don't. I still get mentorship. I still get coaching all the time and stuff. And I'm careful not to say that I'm up here if I'm down here as a coach. In a manner of speaking and stuff, because I don't know how to get to here yet because I haven't been here yet.
Yep.
So I'm getting coaching from people that are there, but I can help people get to here. So, and that was a humbling, eye-opening experience for me, knowing that I can help people get to where I'm at, and I don't have to be clear up here to start helping people down here. And as you mentioned before, especially the person in the mirror.
Yeah, absolutely.
And reading these books, it made me think of Bob Proctor. Something that he says is, when you read it the second or third time, you don't see something that wasn't there before in the book before. You see something that wasn't in you before, or something like that. I paraphrase.
Yeah.
And that's when I really applied that. I'm like, holy crap. If you like, how when you stand up against a wall and you measure yourself, whatever, if you did that mental growth wise, so you could visually see that, and you're like, holy cow, I was down here, so it took a minute for me to mentally picture my mental growth and be able to catch something or see something different in myself every time I reread one of those self-development books, especially in a group, in a mastermind like you mentioned before. So thank you for bringing that up. And I think that segues into perfectly into, you got some events coming up, programs coming up. You want to spend a minute to talk about those?
Sure. So I have upcoming, I have my, well, actually, let me figure out which one I want to talk about, because we've talked about so many different things. So in terms of a program that I'm launching, I do have what I call Intuitive Strengths Business Blueprints. And those are a custom blueprint that I am able to intuitively tap in and tell you your top, like, God-given strengths in key areas of business. And I've seen that transform people's lives and their confidence, because suddenly it's like you have permission to be you and to tap into those things that you may have like that come so naturally that you're like, oh, it's not worth my time. It's not worthwhile. It's like, no, 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 that's a strength. Like, let's lean in. Let's do that. So I just recently launched that as an option for individuals to be able to get their intuitive strengths business blueprints and be able to, it's a 20+ page guide, like custom guide to your top intuitive strengths to really help support you in stepping into your best version, your strengths, and into your own confidence. So that's something that I'm launching that I think would probably be an excellent resource for our listeners today.
Awesome. And you said something that I really love, giving yourself permission.
Yes, huge.
Huge. And even if you don't have the confidence to fully do that yet, just start. Give yourself permission to reach out to Taylor. Give yourself permission to read that book. Give yourself permission to think about it. A lot of times we don't even think about it or think too hard because we're scared. We're scared of the unknown. We're scared of the what ifs. We're scared of the failures or whatever. But give yourself permission to dream. What if you did succeed? What if you did make that dream a reality? What if on the positive side? So I love how you said give yourself permission.
Yeah.
And that's opens a whole can of worms, if you will, in a good way, or a whole chain reaction in a good way of giving yourself permission. I give myself permission to fail and mumble and fumble on the show all the time.
Right.
but because of that, I've met so many great people and I've had so many great experiences. So give yourself permission. So, but yeah, and is this the best place? I got your website up.
Yeah, you can find the Intuitive Strengths Business Blueprints, any like the book club, any of those things that we talked about today, or if you just want to reach out and kind of feel things out. I do also offer like a complimentary, it's content consultation. So if you're a business owner and a coach and you want to get your content audited and reviewed for free, and we go through and take a look at things, you can reach out to me on taylorproctor.com and we can have that discussion as well. So really, it's please feel free. You have permission. Reach out to me and let me see how I can help. Right. That's what I'm here to do. So yes, taylorproctor.com is the best place to reach me.
Awesome. So yeah, anyone who's watching, go to this website. Kenny and Taylor give you permission to go to this website to get a hold of Taylor. She's not going to bite. She's going to help.
Yes.
and she'll help you give yourself even more permission to go to the next step, permission to do the next thing or whatever, to build that confidence. She's going to help you with that. So that's awesome, Taylor. Thank you so much for that. What would be one parting piece of advice that you would give the listeners?
I would say that you are capable of creating with confidence. That's like, add that to your declarations, your mantras, manifest that, right? It's this saying out loud, I am capable of creating with confidence. Because if you feel like in your soul, and we can mindset work and all that to that point, that you are capable and that you can create and you can do it with confidence, the world opens up in a whole new way. And so whether you're a business owner, a coach, you're somebody looking for help, whatever that may be, if you can really believe in your soul that you are capable and that you can create with confidence, your whole life changes. And so that would be my parting words, is that add that to your declarations, your morning manifestations, whatever it is, that you are capable of creating with confidence.
Absolutely. Totally. So thank you for that, Taylor. It's been awesome having you on here. I'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely.
In the future. And everyone watching, please reach out to Taylor. Remember, we give you permission. Go get on her website. Go connect with her. And remember, most of all, live your passion, fulfill your purpose, and explore those possibilities. We'll see you next time.